even me within your community now, completely, I have drunk the Kool-Aid.
I'm still drinking it.
But it's been a long time since I've considered myself religious. I, do the spiritual but not religious button on the surveys at this point in my life. And yet, I absolutely have a more profound connection to what I call God now than I ever have. I walk around a house that's full of religious icons, and we have practices that are based in some of the oldest religions on the planet. And yet you and I both would say we're not religious. And I think you're right. A lot of people looking at me or you and a lot of us are going, they're crazy. They're so religious. Why are they saying they're not religious? They talk about God. They've got religious icons.
Well, I think the thing about the religious art is that in Asia particularly, the bulk of the art that was ever created in Asia was religious art. And, it was created in praise of or out of gratitude for the extraordinarily complex and sophisticated, experience that we are living in. So, especially Asian art is less religious than Western religious art is, which is all Christian because, for the most part, the Jews and the Muslims don't create much art, although that's not exclusively true. Mm-hmm. Some of the most amazing painting ever made was made in Iran in the 14th and 15th century. The Safavid kings of Iran had extraordinary artistic and aesthetic sensibility.
But you don't just have this art around here because it's pretty art. I mean, it evokes a spiritual...
Well, there is a message in it, for sure, but I, quite frankly, have it around because it's the art that I like to have around. And there's one other issue, and that is, I went through the years, I was able to actually afford Indian and Tibetan sculpture and painting, and if I had tried to buy a David Smith piece of sculpture or a Rodin that's like, what are you kidding? So, and on one sense, I bought what I could afford. I also have bought what I liked, but it turns out that one of the reasons I like it is because it speaks to me, and it speaks to what I have committed, the pathway that I've committed my life through. But sitting in the room here, we have a piece of Indian sculpture that celebrates the god of the wind. And that's not to say that there is a god out there which is the god of the wind. It is a recognition of the power of wind to influence, as an expression of a larger process, and it is an appreciation of the natural world that we live in. It's not exact, if you understand the religious art of South Asia particularly, which influenced every place else in Asia, what you will understand that it is actually a celebration of life on earth. It's not exactly religious in the same way that we think of religion in Western art, because in Western art, religious art is, praising a creator who made us, for some reason, the cruel joke is made us extremely imperfectly and created for us a set of boundaries that none of us could possibly live in healthily. And if we don't live in those boundaries healthily, which is impossible, we will go to hell.
And you don't think that the Kali piece with skulls around her and axes in her hands isn't...
I think that is also a celebration of the natural world. Chaos, destruction, change. death and rebirth. When I see an image of Kali, and of course there were times when an image of Kali, was used to justify some people's bad behavior. Particularly, I'm thinking at the moment of the Thuggee movement that was prevalent in south of Benares in the 17th and 18th centuries. But, generally speaking, when I look at an image of Kali, what I see is the universal creative process being celebrated. And sometimes, for new life to come, old structures must fall. And that's really the message of all of the sort of intense and violent-looking images of South Asian art. So that doesn't, I actually like it. I think it's beautiful, and I think that, it's not for everybody, but the other thing is most people in the West have never even really been exposed to it, so they don't really know. The other thing I was going to, apart from a piece of Indian sculpture, there's some Islamic calligraphy. There's a piece of calligraphy on the wall that is just so elegantly done. It's so elegantly done, and that calligraphy is Arabic writing, and what it says is, everywhere you look, you see the face of God. And so that is a way of saying, that is not the message of ordinary Islam, because what that is saying is that the divine is seen in all of the manifestations of life that we are surrounded by. And that even our own bodies and our minds are the divine.